Now my privilege to introduce Speaker of the House, Philip Gunn. I will tell you, finding innovative ways to improve Mississippi has always been Speaker Gunn's goal. Whether it's in education, business environment, or most recently transportation funding, Speaker Gunn has always been willing to go beyond the traditional ways of doing things. His leadership and willingness to find a solution was a key component in the successful special session that created new sources of funding to address Mississippi's vital needs for roads and bridges. Working with members of the House, he championed increases in both state and local funding and understands a strong transportation system is vital for both economic growth and public safety. Thank you, Speaker, for all you did to really begin to improve infrastructure across our state. But he's been working for years to make Mississippi a place that is a business-friendly environment where companies can grow and prosper. Whether it's been with workers' compensation or tax reform or education, he has found a way to make these things happen. Always willing to think outside the box. And he's very competitive. As you know, this nature began as quarterback at Clinton High School, then at Baylor, and he continues to work every day with Mississippi's representatives to make this a better state. Please welcome Speaker Philip Gunn.
Well, good morning, and thank you so much for letting me be here with you today. I have one purpose here today, and that is to brag on my fellow colleagues, my fellow members in the House of Representatives. It was about this time last year that MEC released its agenda items for the 2018 legislative session, its top priorities. And there were two things. One was to find a new education funding formula that was fair for all students. The other was to find a stream of revenue for roads and bridges. During the 2018 legislative session, the House of Representatives delivered on both of those priorities. Let's discuss school funding formula first. MEC stated that it wanted a new funding formula that was fair for all students. Within 2 weeks of the start of the 2018 legislative session, the House of Representatives had passed a new formula that was student-based and student-centered. It distributed money based upon the individual characteristics of the student and their individual needs, not on some bureaucratic program formula. We made sure that the student was the focus of funding. One person who deserves credit for leading the charge on that in the House was Chairman Richard Bennett, the chairman of our Education Committee. But it wasn't just Richard Bennett who led the charge. It was the entire House of Representatives. My House members put aside politics, they put aside personal agendas, and they did what was right by the children of the state of Mississippi on this issue. Unfortunately, the bill died on the Senate floor, but that does not change the fact that the House of Representatives delivered on what was a top priority of this organization last year. The members of MEC need to know who it was in the House of Representatives that led on that issue and delivered on this priority. So, if you are a member of the House of Representatives here today, and if you voted to pass that formula, I would like for you to stand, and if you're standing, to raise your hand. Is there anyone standing? I know I've seen some of you. Raise your hand. Stand up. Now, you members of MEC, as you see these people standing around the room and raising their hands, you need to go to them and thank them for delivering on one of your top priorities last year. I would ask that you give them a hand for taking a tough stand on this issue. Next, let's discuss your second top issue, and that was finding a stream of revenue for roads and bridges. 3 years ago, MEC said this was going to be a top agenda item for them. You held press conferences, you had meetings with legislative leaders, you ran ads on the radio, you ran ads on the TV. You made it clear that finding a stream of revenue for roads and bridges was your top priority. Last year, in 2017 at MEC Capitol Day, I was asked to speak to your organization. I stood before you that day and I pledged to you that the House of Representatives was going to take this issue seriously, that we were going to deliver and we would come forward with solutions. During the course of the 2017 legislative session, we passed 8 different ideas to find solutions for roads and bridges. Every one of those 8 ideas went to the Senate, and none of them ever came out of committee. However, heading into the 2018 session, we in the House did not quit. We once again pledged that the House of Representatives would lead again on this issue. During the second week of the session, we passed House Bill 722, which proposed to use a portion of the use tax to provide a continuous stream of revenue for our road and bridge issue. The bill passed the House unanimously, 118 to nothing. The bill went to the Senate, and unfortunately, it once again died. Undaunted, the members of the House of Representatives did not quit. And when the special session was called for August of this year, we once again led out on this issue. We passed House Bill 1 immediately, first day. This is the exact same plan that we had passed in the regular session of 2018 that passed 118 to nothing. The plan again proposes to take a portion of the use tax and devote a continuous stream of revenue forever for roads and bridges. Every organization that has weighed in on this issue has endorsed this plan. MEC, Mississippi Municipal League, the boards of supervisors, Farm Bureau, road builders, and the list goes on and on. Everyone who has had an interest in this issue has endorsed the plan and has praised the passage of this plan. So I'm not going to let this day pass or this opportunity pass without bringing to your attention those people who are responsible for finding a solution to our road and bridge issue. There were a handful of people in the House of Representatives, just like Richard Bennett, who led on the education issue. There were a handful of people who are probably in this room today who led on this road and bridge issue, including Jason White, Trey Lamar, Mark Baker, Charles Busby. But once again, it wasn't just this handful of people who led on the issue. It was the entire House of Representatives. As I told you earlier, this plan passed 118 back in January. Republican, Democrat, rural, urban, all came together, recognizing this need and passed this plan and delivered on what was a top issue for this organization. So again, I want to ask those members of the House of Representatives who voted for this plan and passed this plan, if you're in this room, please stand and raise your hand so that you can be recognized. And I would ask that those of you who are members of MEC take note of the people who are standing and who are raising their hand and recognize that they are the ones who delivered on this issue for your organization. So in conclusion, I have just a few points I want to make. When the priorities of MEC and the House of Representatives meet, the House of Representatives delivers for you. The members of the House are willing to take on the tough issues. The members of the House are willing to get things done. The members of the House are willing to do what is right and best for the state of Mississippi without regard to politics or personal agendas. So I would ask that next year, when you go to the polls, you remember that. And you vote for the people who stood here today and delivered on the 2 issues that are most important to this organization. Thank you so much for letting me speak to you.
Thanks to every one of you for being here today to give us the opportunity to talk about the things that are going on in the political world and in the policy world and in the economic world that we live in. Now, I know that everyone in here is eager to get to the catfish. So I'm only going to use the 3 minutes that Roger Wicker yielded to me and use none of my time. I'm going to be brief today. And so by being brief, I thought I would just begin with a brief summary of the economic policies we've enacted to encourage growth in Mississippi's economy, starting in January of 2012, and a weekly or monthly summary of that. So, no, really, I want to say this. There's going to be a lot of opportunities for us over the next year to talk about economic policies that are going on in our state. And I'm looking forward to that opportunity. But I want to be clear. I want to be very, very clear that the most important elections to the future of Mississippi's economy are the elections that are taking place next Tuesday. Those are the most important ones that we can talk about today. And so with Senator Wicker and Senator Hyde-Smith speaking, it is imperative, it is crucial that we all go to the polls next Tuesday and vote to send senators to Washington that will help President Trump and his economic policies. The fact of the matter is, in each of the last 3 quarters, we've had real GDP growth in excess of 3%, and in one of those 3 quarters, we had GDP growth in excess of 4%. Now that's faster and stronger and better economic growth than in any of the 8 years of the previous administration. Elections have consequences, and the most important election that we can talk about today is the election that's going to take place next Tuesday. So Senator Wicker, thank you for your remarks, and I hope everyone recognizes that. Now, the other thing I want to do today is to take this opportunity and thank Governor Bryant for his leadership in the most recently completed special session. Thank Speaker Gunn and his leadership team for working with us to create a solution to a challenge. We also want to take the opportunity to thank you, because every single person in this room played a critical role in getting 3 complicated pieces of legislation done. With your help, we were able to pass a plan to spend over $1 billion over the next several years on both state highways and on city and county roads. And I'm happy to say that the Mississippi Economic Council will have a seat at the table as MDA and MDOT consider funding major road projects that support economic activity throughout the entire state. This significant investment positions Mississippi to both maintain the pavement on the ground and to look at new projects in communities that support economic growth. Our state's highway system plays a critical role in our economy. Mississippi businesses, all of you, need a reliable transportation system to move goods to market. The fact of the matter is, if you don't have a good transportation system, you cannot get employees to and from work, and you cannot get the products that are produced to and from the market. Just last week, I had the opportunity to work with Transportation Commissioner Mike Taggart as we cut the ribbon on the new I-269 project that runs from Highway 61 in Tunica to connect to a highway in Tennessee. This is one of the first phases of the soon-to-be, hopefully, I-69 project that connects Canada to Mexico. I do think it's important to note that we in Mississippi literally just opened one of the first phases of that nationwide project. But I also think it's important to note that it's not just going to help economic growth in DeSoto County, one of the fastest growing counties in our state, but it's also going to greatly benefit Mississippi farmers in the Delta and other manufacturers throughout Northeast Mississippi. And it also gives MDA yet another tool to attract new development to the region. I want to set up an environment whereby our economic development teams, both in Jackson and in your communities, can work hard to grow existing businesses and to lure more job creators to Mississippi, no matter where their home office is located. In fact, if you would do something for me, I would appreciate it. If you would just look up here and look at some of the banners that are hanging from the walls. State Farm, United Healthcare, Vertex, Airbus, Balch, Baxter, BKD, BNSF Rail. You get the picture. What I want you to know is I appreciate all companies that are willing to invest capital in our state. I appreciate all companies that are willing to create jobs in our state, because the winners when job creators create jobs, the winners when more capital is invested in Mississippi, the winners when more jobs are created in Mississippi are the people of Mississippi and the ones that get to fill those jobs. The fact of the matter is, Mississippi has the lowest unemployment rate in our state's history. The Mississippi has more people working today than any time in our state's history. Our graduation rate has risen from 70.5% when I ran for office to over 82.5%. The fact of the matter is that we are seeing educational attainment levels improve in Mississippi as our scores on 4th grade reading, 4th grade math, 8th grade reading, and 8th grade math have outperformed nearly all of the 50 states that we compete with over the last 10 years. We have a long way to go. We got more work to do, but I believe we in Mississippi and we as Mississippians should spend a lot less time apologizing about the bad things that have occurred in our past and a lot more time bragging about the good things that are going on in our future. The fact is, our educational attainment is up, and that's something we ought to be exceptionally proud of. As we move beyond the elections of 2018, I look forward to talking about our vision for the future of Mississippi, a vision that includes a balanced budget, a vision that includes less debt on the books, a vision that includes fewer taxes, because we believe that more money in your pocket means growing economy, because we believe you know better than any governmental entity ever will how to spend your money. As we look to 2019, we'll have a lot of time and a lot of opportunity to talk about just that. But today is a day to focus on the 2018 elections and to focus on the accomplishments that we made together in the special session. Thank you for what you did to make that become a reality. The fact is, our citizens will be better off because of it. Thank y'all, and may God bless Mississippi.
It's a beautiful day out, hey? I think everybody's glad we're here in the Coliseum as opposed out in the tents where we used to be, although we had a lot of fun out there, and this is my 16th year, I guess, of speaking to MEC. But this is the first time that I'm speaking and asking you to help me in this race for governor of the state of Mississippi. And I want to tell you a little bit about how we got here. Many of you members of the business community, Republicans and Democrats, encouraged me to run for governor. You know, it's been where I go to the legislature. I mean, it's in Republican leadership and Democrats as well, because many of you are business people before you're partisan. And I think our partisan bickering has gotten, you know, all of us are sick of dealing with it. My 15 years as Attorney General have allowed me to have a reach in every agency of the state of Mississippi and every board. We represent all the agencies and boards in the state of Mississippi, and it's allowed me to see where the needs are, where the fat is, and where we can do some things to help better our state. You know, I think so many of us are just tired of the finger pointing and the red and the blue, and I think people are ready for some change. I want to talk to you about a color, though, that it affects all of us, and that's green. I want to talk to you about the economy in the state of Mississippi. Now, you're going to hear speakers who were speaking later on. They're going to tell you how great things are, but let me tell you the truth about what our economy is. Mississippi has the worst economy of any state in the union. If you include D.C., it's 51st in the nation, and that's a fact. That's from Business Insider. 47th under USA Today. And so our economy is not moving. Our growth 2016 to 2017 was 0.3% growth. Guess what the southeastern average growth is? 16%. Tennessee's growing at 21%. Alabama is growing at a rate of about 9%. Arkansas at 12%. As I said, the southeastern average is 16%. Our median income is $38,910. That is the lowest in the union. So our economy has a long way to go, and we haven't recovered from the recession like many other states. You're going to hear them come up here and brag about our historically low unemployment rates. They're going to tell you about that, but let me tell you the other side of what that actually means. We actually have the fourth highest unemployment rate out of 50 states in the country. The second lowest labor participation rate of about 56%. So when they talk about low employment, a lot of people aren't participating, number one. And number two, if you compare us and our so-called historically low unemployment rates, then we're still looking at 48th in the nation. I want to talk to you a little bit about roads and bridges and infrastructure. And MEC has been a leader in attempts to get our legislature to properly fix our roads so that we can have economic development. But you know, you went over there with a silver platter and gave our leadership opportunities to build roads and fix problems that we have in our state. And in fact, it's going to cost about $375 million a year to fix our roads. And when we're fixing roads and when you're building things, that's when the economy moves. You remember back the last time that we weren't in deficit spending in our country was back in the late 2000s. Late 1990s, and that was, if you remember a guy from Louisiana, James Carville said it's the economy, stupid. Well, in Mississippi, what we're dealing with is an economy that needs these jobs and needs this kind of movement. Now, so what did the legislature do? They go over there in August, and they couldn't do it in the regular session. They've been trying this for 4 or really 8 years, been attempting to try to come up with some formula, because the problem is nobody's got the guts to step out and lead. I mean, leadership is about telling people something maybe they don't want to hear. But if you're going to fix our roads, you're going to have to put the money where your mouth is, and they haven't done that at the legislature. And they had a special session. You know, they huddled up around money that I brought in. In fact, the BP money, they spent that money. You'd think they brought it in. I joined other attorneys general in getting the internet sales tax. And many of you small business people here today, the legislative leadership wouldn't let a bill out that the votes were there to pass for an internet sales tax. That's $134 million. I was participated in the litigation at the United States Supreme Court to allow sports betting. And what they do in this smoke and mirrors special session, what they did is basically nothing. Nothing's going to happen with the lottery for 2 more years. The internet sales tax is going to kick in 2020. The sin taxes of sports betting and lottery and all those taxes should be going to early childhood education. That's another plank that MEC has supported for years in our state, and yet the legislature, leadership at least, have turned that down. You know, they talk about being fiscally responsible in our state. This has been going on a while since back when I took office. The leadership told us we're going to be fiscally responsible. Well, guess what? Our debt has doubled since 2004. We've gone from $2 billion in debt to $4 billion in debt. And you can ask our treasurer about that. Lynn and I have had conversations about that debt. And in fact, in that special session, instead of taking the lead of the Mississippi Economic Council and funding our road construction, they went out and borrowed $300 million more, simply because they didn't have the guts to step out and explain to people why we needed to raise more revenue to fix our roads and how that affects our economy and makes it grow. They had an opportunity to accept $1.2 billion a year that would be circulating through our economy and expand keep our rural hospitals open. You know, those are the best jobs in small communities like where I'm from in Houston, Mississippi. We've lost our emergency room. My granddaddy practiced medicine in the 1930s, 40s, and 50s up in North Mississippi. We have always had an emergency room in Houston, Mississippi, but they've closed that now. Put that in perspective. In 1940, we had better emergency health care in rural Mississippi than we have today, and that's insane. We have Amory Hospital in bankruptcy, simply because we did not have the leadership for those to step out there and accept federal money that would do wonders for our economy. That's just not leadership, and that's another failure. The brain drain in Mississippi, we lost more kids over the past 6 years than any state in the union. And a part of that is because they can't get jobs. And those are our best and brightest that would have good paying jobs and can pay in revenue and taxes and start small businesses in our state. We've lost the equivalent of Tupelo, 42,000 young people from our state simply because of the brain drain, because they're having to go to Nashville or Austin or Atlanta or one of these other states where they can start one of these little tech companies that will generate income, and we're losing it from our state. You know, when Haley Barbour 16 years ago said we're not going to raise anybody's taxes, Well, in fact, they did. They have raised taxes on tuition. It doubled at our universities. It went from $4,000 a year to $8,000 a year. And so these kids have to borrow money, and then therefore they leave our state. When you go to church and you see how many of your friends' kids have had to leave our state, I think you realize that there's something amiss, and we got to do something about it. And some of those things that we can do is job training, doing it through our community colleges, and providing free tuition for those who can't get a scholarship otherwise. Tennessee is doing that statewide. That's why they're growing at a rate of about 21% in the state of Tennessee, and we're growing at a rate of about 3% since the Great Recession. There's opportunities there, but we have to reach out and grab them. And if my 5 counties in Chickasaw and Tupelo and that area up there can do it, I think any of the counties in the state of Mississippi can do it as well. So those are opportunities. So what have we done? We gave tax cuts to large out-of-state corporations. Out of the franchise tax $278 million tax cut, 78% of that went to large out-of-state corporations. And most of you have businesses here in Mississippi. It didn't help you. We gave it to large out-of-state corporations so they can give big campaign contributions. That's who's ruling our state. That's what's wrong in Congress right now, because the Citizens United opportunity for them to flood political campaigns with it. You know, in Mississippi, we got I hate to use the issue about draining the swamp, but the fact is we got to drain the swamp in our legislature. We've got to move that leadership out that has done nothing to move our state forward. You business people know the economy's not moving, and it's not going to change if we don't do something different, and there are opportunities for us to make a difference. You're going to hear them get up here and talk about scare tactics, about some Nancy Pelosi or some liberal or some, you know, it's always some bear. They always tell you what's wrong and whose fault it is, but never how to fix it. And those are the things that I want to do as governor in our state, and I think many of you do too. If you're tired of self-dealing in our state, you know that we need to make a change. We need to pave public roads and not somebody's private driveway like has been going on with our leadership. You know, I know many of you in MEC are encouraged, y'all have encouraged me. Many of you come up to me and go, "You're the only Democrat I ever vote for." You know, you whisper it. I hear it every day, and that's great. I appreciate it. But many of you, I think, need to step out and actually get in the open for me. You can help calm the waters. You can help us raise the money that is necessary to make a difference in our state. You know, the time is now to decide that we move forward or we just keep doing what we're doing. You know, we can make Mississippi great. We got to put our Mississippi families first. We've got to make a difference. I need your help. God bless you. Thank you.